Hey guys, it's James Smith here, and today we're going to be doing a butterfly lamb leg with some good quality New Zealand grass-fed lamb. Simple things we're going to need today: a nice sharp knife, a good steel, and obviously our lamb leg and a good hot smoking grill. So first things first guys, we've got our grass-fed New Zealand lamb here. It's obviously a very nice cut. This one is a 3/4 lamb leg, so it's actually missing the rump end. This is traditionally what you kind of find in your supermarket, a nice vacuum packed piece of lamb for a good quality price. Now, first thing we're going to use is our sharp knife. A shorter knife is best for doing lamb, just because we don't need anything too long. This is a 5-inch bony knife made by Victory Knives in New Zealand, and it is a very good quality knife, and it's very nice and cheap for you guys looking for a deal. Now, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start to remove our bones from our lamb leg. Now, all we need to do is we actually just need to remove our H bone, which is the first bone that we're going to remove. That bone just sits just along here, and this is actually our hardest bone to remove, so make sure you watch carefully in this process. The first thing I'm going to do is just put the tip of my knife in up against the inside of that bone. And kind of work my way out to the outside. Just going to break through that joint. Take it out like so. Any excess meat we can just trim off. We can use that for a stock. Now we're going to remove our last 2 bones. We just need to point the tip of the knife in and run down the inside of that leg. We've got our shank that starts here. We're actually going to butterfly the shank as well today because that actually goes really good, hot and fast as well. You'll notice too that I'm using what's called a dagger grip here. So if you guys want, move just to a standard grip like that is perfectly fine. So once you've come down both sides, we're just going to clear the top a little bit, and we're going to cut down the back. Just again, just trying to get as much of that meat off the bone as possible. So that's pretty simple. We've removed our 2 main bones now, and now we just have one little bone called the knuckle, and that just sits inside there. We're going to remove that, and then we're just going to trim any excess heavy fat off. We also have a little gland that sits just inside here, so that's inside our top side and our silver side. See, it's covered by a heavy bit of fat there. Jump on in there and trim that out. Now that the bones are removed, the next part that we want to do is we actually want to butterfly it. So butterflying is just evening out your lamb. If you see at the moment we've got a nice thick piece of lamb here, and then we're a little bit thinner towards the end. So butterflying is basically just evening up the whole piece of lamb so that when we cook it, it's even across all areas and surfaces, so one end doesn't cook faster than the other. So butterflying, we actually just need to simply lay our hand flat and cut it so that it's going to even out our lamb. You're more than welcome to cut this in half too and use this in 2 different cooks, but today we're going to cook the whole thing because we're pretty hungry. Pretty simple. Everything seems pretty flat, surfaces are all pretty even, so now we're good, and we're going to get stuck in and marinate it. All we're going to be using is olive oil. We're going to be using 1 lemon that we can cut and squeeze out. We're going to be using 1 tablespoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of pepper, cracked pepper preferably. And then we're just using fresh herbs, okay? So this is optional. I'm using rosemary, basil, and a little bit of thyme today that we're going to chop up and add in. And then obviously key garlic, okay? Garlic goes really well with lamb, so we want to make sure we're adding some of that in. Now what we're going to do, we're going to create all this, we're going to cut it all up. And what I recommend is actually getting a nice good container that you can put this in. So we're going to chuck our lamb in, add all our ingredients, and then we can let that sit for at least a couple hours before cooking. So let's get stuck in and let's get this prepped. So we've prepped our lamb leg now, we've let it sit in the fridge for a couple hours, now we're ready to cook. So with the grill, what we want to do is we want to heat our barbecue up to 200 degrees Celsius and add a little bit of wood to it for flavour. What we're going to do, actually, we're going to put it on the opposite side of the heat. So we've got all our charcoal positioned on one side, and we're going to do what's called a reverse sear. Basically going to cook it for 30 minutes, and then we're going to finish it over charcoal to make it nice and crispy. So that's a wrap on our boneless butterfly lamb leg. If you guys want to check out more New Zealand beef and lamb recipes, make sure you head over to recipes.co.nz. But apart from that, guys, that's been it for me. Now I'm ready to eat this lamb.